When she heard him speak, anger built up inside her, and she said what she thought. I hate the king, and especially the knights. One makes our lives into a hell and the others kill innocent people. She had said that louder than she had intended, but she didn't care. She made no secret of her dislike of the knights anyway. After all, they had destroyed their lives. But Glacio next to her winced at these words and looked nervously in all directions. But there was no one nearby who could have seen who insulted the knights. He breathed a sigh of relief and then turned to Cheyenne more seriously than ever before. Hey, I don't know how it used to be in the Undercity, darling, but you're not home anymore. In the real world it's a bit different. As soon as you insult a knight here, or even say anything or do something that could be understood as such, you are already as good as dead, especially in Luminastrel. Outside the capital the knights hold back with their tyrannies, and have many more followers who believe in their ideals of a better world, and these people betray you immediately. As a rule, it is like this. If someone insults a knight or does something that the knighthood does not approve, it endangers that person and their family, because anyone who is against the knights could belong to the other side. You probably don't know anything about it. In the capital you don't get so much of the outside world. So, to put it briefly, not everyone is satisfied with the knights and their machinations, and therefore an organization was founded, which has been waging war against the knights ever since. You've probably never heard of the war between the Knights of Light and the Shadow Servants. The Shadow Servants are freedom fighters whose goal is it to free the world from the rule of the knights. The dear knighthood intends to change the world. You could also say that they intend to revive the yin-yang age. They want the world to return to what it was before the destructive apocalypse. But now the Shadow Servants think that this is complete nonsense, since everything changed then, and they believe that if the world is changed again, it is doomed. That's why they fight against the knights. But at the moment these freedom fighters are not yet strong enough and have too few members to be able to assert themselves against the knighthood, and new followers are hard to find, because many who joined the Shadow Servants were murdered immediately afterwards, and the knights intimidate everyone anyway. People are too scared to change sides, but I don't know more about this whole thing, Angel. While Glacio had quietly told her all this, Cheyenne's jaw dropped. She had never noticed any of this since she was born. Apparently she had lived in a completely different world. Her grandparents didn't seem to know about the war either. But even if they did, they had never told her about it. Since she had arrived in this village and started talking to Glacio, she had learned so many things about the world. Everything was so new. Cheyenne was simply stunned. Within a day everything had changed. It was as if her life so far was a crystal ball that broke into 1,000 shards. She never thought there was going on more in the outside world than in her wildest dreams. The girl had become curious and also a little excited, but at the same time she was frightened, because the world seemed very dangerous. So the knights weren't just there to bully and kill people, but because they had a serious task? But even though Cheyenne seemed to know nothing about this world, she was eventually taught by her grandparents about the apocalypse that had led to the end of the yin-yang age. At that time, the whole cycle of life had miraculously changed, and all people who had lost their lives in the war before were miraculously given a second life after the world change. After that, there was peace for a long time. No one knew what this miracle was, and archaeologists and historians worked hard to find out, but they never found a useful clue. Glacio watched Cheyenne as she pondered. He seemed worried but said nothing. To get the girl away from the gloomy thoughts about war and change, he asked her a question instead. Doll, you haven't even told me how you got here in the first place. I mean, it was night, you couldn't see anything, you were disoriented and confused, and you were being haunted. Cheyenne paid attention to him again. It was clear to her that he was just trying to distract her. He certainly thinks I shouldn't worry so much about the world. But how would he react in my place? This is all so confusing. But she had promised to tell him absolutely everything. Yes, well, I know everyone finds it hard to see something at night, but it's easy for me, honestly. I see pretty well at night. When Xaver was gone, I just tried to escape the nights, and when morning came, me, Adukas and Falconheart were in the forest, and that's where I realized where I was. Suddenly, Adukas was attacked by a strange white wolf. I believe it was made out of luminium because it was made of the same white mist as your healing spell before. The two fought, and that's where the wounds came from. The white wolf did not pay attention for a moment, and we took the opportunity and fled. But there was a huge tree trunk on the way, and I let Falconheart jump over it. Since he had been running all night, he had no strength at all, and hit his leg on the tree. On the other side, it went down so far that he came up again hard and buckled. That's where his injury came from. From the place where we were, I could see this village, and we ended up here, and, well, right after that I met you. Glacio thought for a moment, then said something again. You can see very well at night, huh? Exceptional. Well, it sounds like you met a Luminium demon in the forest. In Luminastrel, however, they are rather rare, because they are constantly eliminated by the knights. You don't seem to know anything about demons, do you, Angel? Well, then I want to explain that to you. There are Luminium and Umbral demons. They appeared one day within the last 20 years. Luminium demons arise from a lack of Luminium in the world. There is a cycle, but it is disturbed by the too many experiments with this force. So, to illustrate, the bodies of humans and animals are made of luminium. You already know that. So, when a baby is born, luminium is taken out of the earth for his body and borrowed. When a human or animal dies, however, it takes about 10 years for the dead body to convert the structure of human or animal luminium into earth luminium. As long as it's not transformed, the world cannot take it back. But because researchers experiment so much with luminium, there was a lack of this power. Because less and less of it was available for the world, the dead bodies transformed faster, with the result that there was not enough time to completely change and adapt the structure. The corpses therefore became luminium in its non-physical form, and its structure is so flawed that it can no longer even take on a physical form. The result is called a demon. It takes on a form, for example, that of a wolf, as you have seen it, but cannot hold it in the long run, and cannot take on the color of it. Terranox Libertia cannot produce enough of the power to bring the world back into balance, and as long as so many people die and the experiments do not stop, the earth will not recover, and the demon plague will get worse and worse. Here in Luminastrel, the knights try to keep the demons at bay. But these beings don't die. The luminium is only separated for some time until it reunites and forms a new being. Once the demon has formed, it loses the ability to change the luminium structure and can no longer become Earth's own luminium. Therefore, the number of living beings is decreased more and more, and that of demons is increasing, of course. These monsters have no souls and no will to live. So no Umbrauror, but even this force has to be processed. When someone dies, his Umbrauror leaves the body and looks for something new where the life force can work. But if so much luminium goes to waste for demons and not for new human or animal bodies, the Umbrauror has to look for something else. As a result, there are such weather fluctuations. It gets colder or hotter in some areas, that some people have far too much Umbrauror and therefore, for example, are enormously temperamental or even crazy, or enormously strong elemental spells can work. which have devastating effects in war. However, all this is still not enough to use the whole life force, and there is powerful surplus. Not everything can be used, and therefore demons also form from the Umbrauror. But they are easier to get rid of because you can use their Umbrauror. Luminium demons appear more during the day because they are not as strong but have more defensive power than Umbrauror demons, which you tend to encounter at night. They take advantage of the darkness to fight their victims with their enormously powerful attack, with little defensive power. Because at night most people and animals do not see as much as you know. Unless someone invents a luminium structural converter or something similar, the situation of the world will not improve. You surely want to know why these monsters are so aggressive, don't you, doll? Well, there is still no answer to that in the fields of research as far as I know. Some say that the forces themselves are so enraged, others think that there is a logical explanation, namely that the forces work too much. So, the Luminium tries as quickly as possible to appropriate another structure, even as a demon, although it's no longer possible, and this is supposed to make the being so jittery that it attacks. Umbrauror demons too. Only that they are desperately looking for a use and a purpose, and are therefore so jittery and aggressive. Please don't ask me if these theories are true or what I think about them, sweetie. I really don't have the faintest clue about demons. All I know is that they are there, and that they are dangerous. Glacio finished his lecture, and again Cheyenne had become wiser. She found it interesting to learn so much about the world, but at the same time the situation Terranox Libertia found itself in was terrifying. Hopefully someone will invent this luminium structural change thing he was talking about. It was already around noon and Cheyenne had told her helper enough. She had also learned a lot from him and thanked him. Glacio, it was very nice to make your acquaintance. You helped me a lot. Many, many thanks. Thank you for healing me and my companions, and thank you for telling me so much about the world. Thank you also for asking about my story, because telling it helped me a lot and I feel better now. Even though I still don't fully understand some things, such as why I'm being hunted. But even if I think you might know more about me than I do, I think I certainly can find out myself. Because you won't tell me anyway, at least that's how I got to know you. I really thank you very much, but I have to get to Saraley as soon as possible. I really need to meet Xaver there and know if he's okay. I don't know the way, but I'll find it somehow. I just have to believe it enough. Thank you for everything and farewell. I hope you have a beautiful, long and happy life. I'm serious. Cheyenne got up and went to her horse. To strengthen it a little before leaving, she gave him the 2 apples promised the day before and packed the scroll she had held in her hand back into the saddlebag. Adukas had also got up and was already walking around the street a little restlessly. Glacio also stood up and seemed a little surprised. You want to go, darling? He came to her and looked at her questioningly. But Cheyenne only had her friend on her mind, and she really had to go. She actually wanted to rest a little, but had no money for a place to stay anyway, and she wouldn't be able to sleep with all the exciting things she just had experienced. She ignored her hunger. The only thing that mattered was to get to Saraley as soon as possible. Adukas might catch a few birds to eat along the way, and Falconheart would settle for some juicy grass too, so Cheyenne didn't have to worry about them. But Glacio didn't let himself be brushed off so easily and somehow felt responsible for Cheyenne. Hey, Angel, I happen to go to Saraley too and could accompany you. I even know the way, so you wouldn't have to wander around anywhere. In addition, if the knights catch up with you, you'd have a problem. You don't really look like you can fight well. I would also like to thank this infamous Xaver for saving my pretty angel's life here. So what do you say, doll? Cheyenne was actually happy to finally get rid of this exhausting guy. But he was absolutely right in everything he said, and it would be better for her if he came with her. She liked him a little. He wasn't a stranger anymore, and they had the same goal. So she accepted his offer again. But whether Xaver welcomed meeting this man was uncertain. Well, it would certainly be better if we could get there together. Thank you for your help. Glacio seemed pleased and walked down the street to an old pale brown pony tied to a post. He untied it and awkwardly climbed into the saddle of the little horse. Oh my goodness! He can't ride at all! Oh, now it's almost embarrassing. I looked even better when I climbed Falconhide for the first time, but he's huge and Glacio's pony is, well, small as a pony is. Oh wow, he managed to get into the saddle. Can he even get it to walk? Well, somehow that will work, but why does he want to stay with me? He had very good arguments to accompany me, but why do they only seem to me as an excuse? Well, I'm sure I'll find out. Cheyenne also mounted her horse and then rode to her companion. Somehow, even if it looked awkward and strange, he managed to encourage the pony to run, and the journey to Saraley could start. Alucard trotted in front of Falconhard while Cheyenne and Glacio rode side by side out of the village.